And when I was in New York, Terry said, I'm going to be out in LA in August. I'll do a Q&A for you. And I said, that would be great. And we worked out the dates. And then I wanted, and I asked Terry to join me in talking specifically, because we're, if Terry doesn't mind my saying, old farts. We've been around for a while, and my New York experience is far limited as compared to Terry's. But, you know, I've seen some performances on the New York stage that I will never forget. And I've seen things in the movies and television, too, that I thought were really important, studyable, amazing performances. I saw one this weekend. This guy, Christoph Waltz, who's in Inglourious Bastards. This is performance acting in a movie like I have not seen in years. And I mean, those are the kinds of things that are out there. So Terry and I want to kind of compare notes about things that had stood out for us along the way. Some of them you can't see and we'll just be talking about because they happen on Broadway or off-Broadway or off-Broadway. But as much as we can, we're going to talk about things that also translated to things that you can go rent and really understand why performances change the movies, change the way actors work. And many actors, both in New York and in the movies, their performances have changed the way you work today. And we just wanted to point those out. We would love for you to be able to look at them and have a sense who these people are, or some of them, a few we can touch on, because they're really, we're so lucky to have that available to us. You know, if you're an attorney and you want to study wonderful attorneying, you got to pretty much read it in law books. You can't see it. And we have this incredible benefit to be actually able to see and hear things that were industry changing, art changing. And so that's what we wanted to talk about tonight. You want to say anything to preface this before we launch in?
No, I think I'm ready to launch into wherever you want to start. I do want to say that, you know, for everybody, Jill brought me to you.
Yes.
And just a story about Jill. I'm going to get very emotional.
It's an old fart thing.
Right. We were doing a third world production of Hamlet, right? The great kabuki.
Oh, yeah, the kabuki Hamlet.
And suddenly you were walking down the aisle, and I'd never met you before. You were in the lobby, and we were going to do an original script the next year. There was the script that put us on the map for the trip back down. And there comes Jill. I took one look at her, and I said, "Oh my God, there's our leading lady." And I never changed my mind. Just what you threw off, it just all of your works, and just what you emanate when you walk into something. Well, she was emanating all over that hallway.
And I was looking for a New York home, a theater home in New York.
And I must say also, Jill, all of her life, even out here, you go to everything. I don't want anybody that sees more plays than you. And that's really important. It's really wonderful.
And you know, you guys all have seen Jill not long ago, a couple of years ago. There was a commercial where the grandma comes out on the front lawn and twirls the little 5-year-old kid around.
Yeah, that's right.
It was great. I saw you every day.
Oh, good.
It was great.
It's a wonderful connection.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about this, and I'll tell you who I want to start with. Because I think this woman and what she did, particularly in this movie, had an effect, especially for women, but for acting in general, and that is Anna Magnani in The Fugitive Kind.
She was incredible. Just incredible.
Some of you, go ahead.
Earthy, sensuous, you know, and that woman, I mean, the build, everything about her was not what you would type at all. Not only The Fugitive Kind, but the Rose Tattoo.
The Rose Tattoo, yeah.
Lancaster couldn't stay with her, but I mean, you know, she was just, she was good.
Well, in The Fugitive Kind, she's with Marlon Brando and Joanne Woodward, who are also giving extraordinary performances. But the thing about Anna Magnani that first of all, those of you who don't know, it's Anna, and it's Mangani, Magnani. And obviously an Italian actress who was very famous and studied and developed, and a movie star in Italy. And because people were aware of her, and particularly Tennessee Williams and some other people who'd seen her work in Italian, she was sort of welcomed into the movies. And the reason this performance is, first of all, I mean, she's you know, just sensual, and women in America were either smart talking, that was okay, you know, the Katharine Hepburns and those, that was cool, or they were, you know, Marilyn Monroe. That was sort of what chickdom was. That's what was hot. And here came Anna Magnani, who was a little squatty, a little full-bodied, a little dark, and with these just black eyes.
Big circles under them.
Big nasty circles under her eyes. You know, I mean, she was not a beauty. And yet, she put out so much womanliness, mature womanliness, that I think she brought a wave of that and allowed us to finally see some actresses that didn't either fit, you know, the Katharine Hepburn thing or the Marilyn Monroe thing. All of a sudden you could see these gutsy women that were really made America, our version of that. And it was an extraordinary performance. And she made several movies here, and then she went back to Italy and was a movie star, and then she came back and did a couple of more, and then she died rather early in her life, unfortunately. But
I was just going to say that Betty Davis quoted her as her favourite actress.
yeah, Betty Davis always said, if I could do what that Magnani woman does. Yeah, she was, and that's just one, I think, first of all, it's so watchable because it's so over the top and extreme, and Joanne Woodward is great, and Marlon Brando, it's at the beginning, and he's just, you know.
I just finished reading Sidney Lumet's book on filmmaking. He's got a wonderful story about The Fugitive Kind. You know the play at all, Orpheus Descending of The Fugitive Kind? Brando has a big speech, and it's a gorgeous piece of poetry about a little bird that has no feet and spends its entire life in the air and dies and falls to earth. And they did 25 takes, and it was 2 a.m. in the morning, and Brando kept going up in the same place. And Lumet doesn't reveal, he said, I knew what it was, but he doesn't talk about it. And he said the patience on the 26th take, he said Boris Kaufman, the cameraman, was practically exhausted, Magnani was exhausted, and Brando got it. But if you ever watch the movie, it took 26 takes for that speech before he, I don't know why he was going up, but he said every take he went up to the same place, which is Magnani hanging in there.
This is the great thing about the movies, you know. I mean, while it lacks that thing of the theater where it's happening right before your eyes, it also means you can, accidents happen, you can also take time, you can get it, you know, because you don't get 26 takes on the stage. You better hit it or, you know, it's not going to happen that night. So that's, it's also great to see Joanne Woodward at, you know, 25 or 6 or 7, whatever she was. And she also, I think, made, in many ways, some inroads for women. But especially in this performance, because she's kind of hard and a little not pretty and yet attractive and yet, you know, she just does something that's sort of the modern woman, the woman after the sexual revolution, and, you know, what women were going to be. And there's a preview of what was ahead in her performance, I think. It's really a worthwhile movie. Do you have one you want to talk about?
I just went back and looked at it recently. Probably my favorite film director is Ingmar Bergman. I went out and spent about $300–400 to buy all his movies when they were released. But I went back with my daughter, sat down to look at Fanny and Alexander, which is probably my favorite film of all time. It's just an incredible piece of biography on his part.